While the world debates inflation and interest rates, something major just happened behind closed door, the 2025 G20 Finance Summit. But here's what most people aren't talking about. Africans show up with a bold agenda, and it's a wake-up call for the global economy. Debt relief, trade fairness, development finance, and clean energy. Africa isn't asking for help, it's demanding equity. But what happens when global power like the US kick the table? Stick around because this might just shape your future. What if I told you Africa could be the world's next financial powerhouse if the G20 stop talking and start acting? This summit could be the turning point, but who is really listening? G20, a group of the world's 20 largest economies, they control over 85% of global GDP. Their finance minister meets to discuss money, debt crisis, and future trends. But here is the issue. Africa has 54 countries. Only South Africa is a permanent G20 member. That's less than 2% representation for a continent over 1.4 billion people. So when decisions are made on interest rates, debt restructuring, on development loans, Africans often get talked about, not talked with. Over 20 African nations are in debt distresses. China, Western leaders, and private bondholders hold trillions in combined African debt. At the summit, African leaders pushes hard, cancel or restructure unsustainable debt, shift from short-term, long to long-term development financing. They increase access to the IMF special drawing rights. Because you can build schools, hospital, or solar plant if 70% of your budget pays all debts. I quote, debt is not just a number, it's a check on progress. In a surprising move recently, the US finance leadership skipped this year's G20 Finance Summit. Why does that matter? Because the US play a major role in IMF decisions, global lending norms, and climate finance commitments. With US absent, other G20 members like China, the EU, and India dominate the talk, and Africans were pushed for reform. It risks being ignored. Is global leadership shifting, and what does that mean for Africa? Africa contributes less than 4% of global emission, but suffers the worst effects. Demands climate justice, funding to transition to renewable, build infrastructure, and protect forests. At the summit, African ministers demanded real action. Clean energy investment without restraint, funding for climate adaptation, especially for droughts, flood, and rising seas. Technology transfers and fair partnership. Africa has the sun, Africa has the wind. It just needs fair financing to power the future. Trend came up again, but Africa's position was clear. Stop dumping, end of fair traffic, and open market for African products. African farmers face massive trade barriers. Raw materials leave African cheap, come back as expensive finished goods. African nations want investment that build industry on the continent, not just extractive deals. The continent isn't poor, it's being under-leveraged and underrepresented. The G20 summit ends, but the question remains, will debt relief turn into action? Will clean energy fund be delivered? Will Africa gain real voice in financial decisions? The next IMF and World Bank meeting are just monthly away, and Africa plans to carry this agenda forward. The G20 is shaping our financial future, but if Africa's agenda is ignored, the whole world risks losing out. Share this video if you believe global finance must include every voice. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should debt be cancelled for struggling nations? How can we find Africa's clean energy boom fairly? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because on this channel, we break down the money news that actually matter.